The storm outside the fortress roared like a living creature. Black lightning arced across the purple skies of Varela 9, a planet ruled by war and ceremony. Within its capital's high marble walls, a young alien woman sat shackled to an obsidian pillar. Her pale blue skin shimmered faintly under the cold torchlight, and her silver eyes, once full of defiance, were now dulled by despair. Her name was Sarai of the Lumarin, last daughter of a fallen royal house. Tomorrow, she was to be married to Lord Voss, the conqueror of her people. The wedding would not be a celebration. It would be the final act of submission from her dying race. She had not eaten in 2 days. The guards mocked her silence, throwing scraps into her cell, calling her the last light of a broken world. When they left, the sound of her own heartbeat echoed through the stone chamber, and she wept quietly, for herself, for her people, for what tomorrow would bring. She never saw the small drone hovering outside the vent shaft, recording her tears, transmitting the image across the ravaged plains, to a man who shouldn't have been there at all, the human outsider, on the outskirts of the capital, in a burnt-out trading post. Elias Carter, one of the last humans stranded after the galactic collapse, watched the footage through a cracked HoloLens. His jaw tightened as Sarai's trembling image flickered before him. Bound, alone, a political prisoner, he muttered. Varellan customs haven't changed, still brutal as hell. Elias had been a soldier once, part of the United Terran Fleet, before their mission to establish peace among alien worlds had gone catastrophically wrong. Most of his crew were dead or enslaved. The rest had been scattered across the system, forced to adapt or perish. Elias had become a mercenary, then a fugitive, hunted for interfering in planetary traditions. But what he saw now reignited something human inside him, the instinct to protect, to intervene, no matter the cost. The message attached to the drone's data feed was unsigned. Just one line burned in crimson text. Save her, human. You're the only one who can. The mission, that night, he infiltrated the capital disguised as a courier, his armor, patched, scarred, and painted in Varellan colors, hid his human features. A stolen identity chip granted him limited access through checkpoints. Varella's cities were a strange blend of elegance and cruelty. Hovering towers, glowing waterways, and colossal statues depicting warriors enslaving the weak. The people whisper the Blue Bride, who would unite bloodlines tomorrow and end rebellion forever. Elias's plan was simple. Find a dungeon, free the alien bride, and get her to the outer ridge where a stolen shuttle awaited. But simplicity rarely survived first contact with reality. The fortress was crawling with guards, Kareth warriors in bone-plated armor, each carrying plasma blades. Their loyalty to Lord Voss was absolute. Yet Elias had something they didn't: stealth and a human's unpredictability. He slipped through narrow halls, disabling cameras, evading patrols, following the sound of water dripping through the old tunnels beneath the keep. Finally, he reached a heavy iron door marked with sigils of ownership. Beyond it, he knew, was Sarai. He whispered to the AI implant in his ear, "Tess, open it." A faint beep. Manual override complete. 2 minutes before the alarm reboots. The door slid open with a hiss of steam. The captive bride. Sarai flinched at the sound, expecting another guard. But instead of cruel laughter, she heard a low human voice. "Easy," Elias said, stepping into the light. "I'm not one of them." Her silver eyes widened. She had seen humans before, during the wars, tall, strange, always shouting in their harsh tongue. But this one's tone was calm, even gentle. Still she recoiled. "Who are you?" she whispered. "Another spy for Lord Voss?" Elias knelt, pulling a plasma cutter from his belt. "Name's Elias Carter. I'm here to get you out." She shook her head. "No one gets out. If they find you here, They'll flay you alive. Then we'll make sure they don't. He pressed the cutter against her shackles. The metal hissed and melted away. Can you walk? She hesitated, then nodded. Why are you doing this, human? Because someone has to, he said simply. For a moment, she just stared at him, this stranger who risked everything for her freedom. Then, wordlessly, she followed. The escape. They moved to the dungeons, the only light coming from Elias's wrist beacon. The air reeked of rust and damp stone. Every corner could hide a guard. Every shadow felt alive. As they climbed the service stairwell, Sarai whispered, "Do you even know what you're saving me from?" "I read enough. Political marriage. Forced unification treaty." She shook her head. "You don't understand. My wedding is not a ceremony. It's a ritual. My blood will be fused with Voss's genome to create a hybrid heir. My people will vanish in that child." Elias froze. "They're planning extinction through genetics." Her silence confirmed it. That was when the alarms blared. Intruder in the lower vaults. Elias cursed. Guess we're improvising. He grabbed Sarai's hand and sprinted through the winding corridors. Guards poured in from both sides, shouting in their guttural tongue. Elias dropped to with a burst from his rifle. Sarai, though weakened, raised her hands, and a pulse of blue light erupted from her palms, slamming the rest into the walls. Elias blinked. "Remind me not to get on your bad side." "Lumeran are born with light force," she said softly. "Most forget we can use it." They reached the outer balcony overlooking the city. Far below, hovercraft patrolled the glowing streets. Elias signaled the extraction beacon. "Shuttles inbound in 3 minutes." 3 minutes, Sarai said. "We'll be dead in 1. A squad of guards burst through the door behind them. Elias tossed a flash charge, shielding Sarai as the explosion blinded their attackers. They leapt over the railing, falling 30 feet into a sloped rooftop, rolling painfully to a stop. The shuttle roared in from clouds, its engines glowing like a second sunrise. Elias waved frantically as Sarai stumbled beside him, but before they could reach it, a massive figure landed in front of them with a crash that shattered the tiles. Lord Voss, 8 feet tall, armored in gold and bone, eyes burning crimson. His voice rumbled like thunder. "You think a human thief can steal my bride?" Elias raised his rifle. "She's not yours." Voss laughed, baring jagged teeth. "You mistake tradition for cruelty. This union is destiny." Sarai stepped forward, her hands glowing. "Destiny? You destroyed my world." He swung his halberd, but Elias intercepted with his forearm shield, the impact sending sparks across the rain. "Get to the ship," he shouted. She hesitated, torn between escape and revenge. Voss lunged, but Sarai raised both arms, unleashing a blinding wave of light. The shock wave threw him backward into the palace spire. Elias grabbed her and dove into the shuttle's open ramp as it ascended through the storm. The flight and the truth. Inside the shuttle, Sarai collapsed, trembling. Elias strapped her into a seat and took the controls, weaving through lightning and plasma fire from pursuing drones. "Hold tight," he yelled as the engine screamed. "You risked your life," she gasped, "for someone you don't even know." "I didn't have to know you," he said. "I just couldn't let them win." Outside, the capital grew smaller, swallowed by clouds. When they broke through the atmosphere, the stars spread out before them, cold, endless, and free. Sarai turned to him. "You'll be hunted for this." "I already was," he said with a half-smile. For the first time, she laughed, a soft, trembling sound. "Then, perhaps we should run together." Middle, the haven. Weeks later, they hit on the desert moon Corythes, where exiles and smugglers lived off forgotten tech. Sarai adapted quickly. learning to repair drones, patch ships, and even barter for fuel. Her once ceremonial robes were replaced by rough traveler's gear, though the light in her eyes had returned. Elias grew to respect her strength. She wasn't fragile or naive. She was fierce, proud, and endlessly curious about humans. One night, as twin moons rose over the dunes, she asked quietly, "Do all humans fight for strangers?" Elias shook his head. "No, most just try to survive. But sometimes you meet someone who reminds you what living means." She looked at him, eyes glowing faintly. "And what does living mean to you, Elias Carter?" He hesitated. "It used to mean orders, duty. Now maybe it's this." For a while, they sat in silence, the desert wind carrying the hum of distant engines. She reached out, her fingers brushing his, softly, uncertainly. The return. Their peace didn't last. CI beacons across the sector began broadcasting a new message. The human renegade and the Lumaran traitor will be executed upon capture. Lord Voss had survived. His fleet found their moon weeks later. Burning ships fell from orbit, shaking the sands as troops descended. Elias and Sarai fled into the ruins, fighting side by side through collapsing tunnels in flame. At last, they reached an ancient reactor chamber buried beneath the dunes. The console still glowed faintly with alien code. Sarai recognized it instantly. "It's a jump gate stabilizer. If we reactivate it, we can leave the system." Elias covered her as she worked, trading fire with approaching soldiers. Plasma bolts scorched the walls. "Faster, Sarai." "Almost there." Then Voss himself emerged from the smoke, armor cracked but eyes burning. He hurled his halberd. It struck Elias in the side, throwing him to the ground. "Human fool," Voss growled, approaching. "You cannot save her. You only delay what is written." Sarai turned, light radiating from her entire body now, her voice shaking with fury. "Then I will rewrite it." She released the full power of her light force. The entire chamber exploded in a blinding surge that shattered Voss's armor and vaporized the soldiers. Elias felt the warmth envelop him, and then nothing, ending a new dawn. He awoke days later, aboard a ship drifting in open space. His wounds were bandaged, his breathing shallow. Sarai sat beside him, pale but alive. "You did it," he whispered. "You got us out." She smiled weakly. "We're far from Varela now. The stars are ours again." He reached for her hand. "You didn't have to save me." "Yes, I did," she said softly. "You changed everything, Elias. You reminded me what hope feels like." Outside the viewport, a new world glowed beneath them. A blue and green planet untouched by war. A fresh start. As the ship descended, Sarai leaned her head against his shoulder. "Maybe this time we'll build something better." Elias smiled faintly. "Together." And as dawn rose over the horizon of their new home, the last human and the last Lumaran bride began not a ritual of conquest, but a first true union between two broken worlds.